Non è computer dummy.
The EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, has reiterated the importance of striking a deal with the UK that stops the return of a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The sovereign decision of the United Kingdom to leave the EU, and it was confirmed yesterday to leave the single market and also to leave the customs union, creates a lot of uncertainties, and often a great deal of uncertainty. For citizens and their rights. This is obviously the case on the issue of borders, and in particular for Ireland.
De la question des frontières et en particulier de l'Irlande.
Keeping peace in Northern Ireland will be one of the Irish government's main conditions if it's to support a deal on Brexit.
We will need to tease through the detail of how we can create a unique solution in the context of Brexit for Northern Ireland, one that recognises and respects the Good Friday Agreement, one that protects the peace process which so many people have worked so hard to build, and one that maintains and supports the kind of normality on the island of Ireland between North and South.
Barnier met with his British counterpart David Davis on Monday for the first round of Brexit negotiations.
The state opening of Parliament in Britain, even though Prime Minister Theresa May is still negotiating a deal for a minority government. Queen Elizabeth outlined the policies the Conservatives want to focus on over the next parliamentary session. And of course, seeking a good Brexit deal was top of the list. The widest possible consensus, says the government.
My government's priority is to secure the best possible deal as the country leaves the European Union. My ministers are committed to working with Parliament, the devolved administrations, business and others to build the widest possible consensus on the country's future outside the European Union. Commercial satellites.
A plan to set up an anti-extremism commission was also announced as part of the fight against terrorism.
My government will continue to work. In the light of the terrorist attacks in Manchester and London, my government's counter-terrorism strategy will be reviewed to ensure that the police and security services have all the powers they need, and that the length of custodial sentences for terrorism-related offences are sufficient to keep the population safe.
But absent from the opening of Parliament was Prince Philip, the Queen's 96-year-old husband, who's been admitted to hospital for an infection. Reports that a firefighting plane crashed in Portugal while tackling the country's deadly forest fire have turned out to be false. Witnesses reported an explosion soon after a plane flew over, but it's thought that may have been gas supplies igniting. The massive effort to combat the flames has now entered its fifth day, with at least 65 people now known to have died and more than 150 injured.
Nous pensons que cette mission risque de se continuer à lavrar com muita intensidade muito próximo das populações.
The fire started on Saturday about 200 kilometres northeast of Lisbon, killing many people in their cars as they tried to flee the blaze.
Nostro vai un break e ora nostro back e deporte con nostro collega Carl Reuter.
Diamond Scrap, situado na banda de supermercado allá na Ceilândia, te oferece turcos para lo que te trata obra de mão. Foi acessório